Today, my lovely bunch of coconuts, we are beginning our Pirate Borg solo RPG adventure. Today is session 0, so we're going to talk a little bit about it. Let's break it down here. Well, hello everybody, my name is Turk. Welcome back to the Grouch Couch. Around here, we do all different kinds of weird TTRPG things, but yes indeed, my friends, we are starting our Pirate Borg adventure with episode 0 for our solo RPG today. So what does that mean exactly? Well, today I'm going to show you how I'm going to be soloing Pirate Borg. We're going to talk about my tools that I'm going to be using. We're also going to be talking about the character that we're going to be playing, and we're going to talk about the setting or adventure or quest story that our character is going to be going on, all right? So we will not be doing any kind of actual play today. We will be setting up for it. This video is mostly for folks who are looking to solo Pirate Borg themselves and they want to learn how to do it, maybe a little bit, or get some tips, or just see how I plan to do it, to see if you want to follow along in the adventure. This video here is also for anybody who wants a little bit of extra, wants to know a little bit more of the workings and the character and the story that's going to be happening here on the channel in a little bit, all right? That's the way that session 0s work. I've got some comments on folks on session 0s like, why aren't you playing yet? So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit, all right? Now, I want to say, if there's anything here, my friends, that you want to get yourselves, there will be links down in the description. Some of them will be affiliate links, so by clicking on those links, it will help support the show. Some of them will just be links right over to Limithron's website to get the physical products yourself, okay? And I want to give a big shout out, speaking of that, to Limithron, because my friends at Limithron actually sent me the starter set, Dawn of the Dead, and Cabin Fever for the purposes of making some video content and for the purposes of this solo actual play, all right? So big shout out to my friends at Limithron for doing that. My views on these books still say as my own. And if you want to get more details straight up about these 3 books, I have these 3 things, because this is a starter set. I have full videos covering each one of these on the channel themselves, if you just want to learn more about these, okay? But for the purposes of today, we will actually be using a little bit of stuff from each one of these, so it's perfect and fantastic. Now, before we continue any further, I do want to give a big shout out to my YouTube channel members and my Ko-Fi supporters. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you so much. And if you want to help support the show, click-and-clack on links and descriptions, and liking the video and subscribing, of course, helps me out a lot. So thank you so much for doing that, YouTube jibber jabber. And I also want to say here at the top, okay, all of my actual plays, my solo actual plays here on the channel, I like to consider them as collaborative storytelling a little bit, okay? I like to try and include comments and ideas as best that I can over the course of the episodes while I play. Even if you're watching this video 6 months from now, if you put a comment of an idea, of a name or something down in the comments, of course I will still try to include it once I continue on to the next episode. I try to look at all the comments from all the episodes and use them as best that I can in my stories. If you do not have an idea for something or an idea for anything special, what you can do is just leave a comment with a name for an NPC. Could be a male name or include a female name, and whenever an NPC comes up, I'll just choose a name from the comments of your suggestion just to name that NPC, all right? But that does go without saying. It's not saying what your NPC is going to be or if my character is going to like them or anything else like that. So think about that before you include your own name, all right? And if you want to get involved in any other way, besides just suggesting NPC names or ideas, you can also join the Discord. There's a link down in the description. There's no paywall to join the Discord. You can just join and you can share whatever you like. You can share maybe art of a ship or a location, maybe even of an NPC. You can draw up some art if you like. It could be in pencil or it can be crazy fantastic. Totally up to you. If you want to get involved in more than just that, you absolutely can. I like to do as much collaborative storytelling with you guys as I possibly can. And Discord is an extra way to be able to. So if you have some kind of fun, cool thing, you want to make up something for Perry the Pirate or anything else like that, join the Discord and share it in there as well. All right. Lastly, all of my actual play solo series, I usually do in episodes in sets of 5. So episodes on Pirate Borg are going to start today and release every week for the next 5 to 6 weeks. And then I'm going to take a little bit of a break and then I might come back to it. Make sure to leave a like here, which will encourage me to come back and do some more Pirate Borg if you do really enjoy the story, right? And I plan to dress up in costume and do fun little skits throughout each episode as I usually do. My character, Perry the Pirate, was a character I used to play on our live streams. We used to do full costume shenanigans, and I still have his costume and I plan to still dress up as him. If I can find a video clip, I will include it here so you can get a little bit of an idea of what to expect.
It's Perry the Pirate back again once again to help you remember what the fuck's going on in the show, but before I begin, I need to tell you I figured out who's been following me. He was some old wizard guy.
Fuck you,
and,
you know what? Get the fuck up out of the way.
Okay, all right, yeah, I made a promise to
That's
him.
right.
He's gonna help me.
I'm not gonna help. Shut
yes,
up.
sir. Go ahead, sir.
All right, here we go. Well, hello, everyone. It's Willie the Wizard.
So I like to do voices and costumes and other kinds of stuff here on the channel. It's just fun for me. It's a fun part of this hobby that I enjoy. But I will do my best not to include a crazy amount of cringy pirate voices, okay? We'll do a good, adequate amount, okay? All right. So I think that says enough of disclaimer shenanigans for our session 0 here today. And every episode, hopefully, as long as the world allows it, there may be a break towards the end of the month, but every Friday, episodes should be going live. And you should know that I record usually on Tuesdays, and then I have time to edit. So make sure to get your comments in as best that you can, and I'll include them. And if I don't get to them in an episode and you leave a comment after that Tuesday, I'll try to get to it the next week, all right? Just know that. So here on the channel, I like to play with physical things. It's fun for me to play physical, so I do my best not to play with digital here on the channel as much as I can. It's more immersive for me to play with physical books and dice and stuff like that. So that's what we kind of have going on here today. There's a couple extra things you're going to see. This is a lot of what we're going to be using in today's episode, but there's a couple extra things that I'm going to be using that are not here yet. I did order the new Limithron PirateBorg DM screen. We're going to be using that as a reference for different kinds of roles and rules and stuff. We're just going to be using that. So that will be arriving soon. And just a couple other small little things. All right. So you might be able to see those next Friday if they arrive in time. But this is pretty much what we're going to be using, the total of it. I sometimes have an issue of adding in extra tools as I play and I end up with way too many on the table. So I'm going to do my best to lock myself into this right here along with that DM screen. All right. This is basically going to be it. But before we can crack open these books and things, I actually want to give another shout out here because my friends over at Cantrip Candles sent me a candle to set the mood on this adventure. This is actually a candle called Brine Water Tides, and it's supposed to smell like kelp, ozone, salt water, and cedarwood. And I've actually already tested it a little bit, and it's fantastic. So not only are we going to be able to set the vibes with the books, but also with a little bit of smell, a little bit of candle action while we're playing with this Brine Water Tides candle from Cantrip Candle. And the cool thing about this bad boy is that it actually has a metal D20 at the bottom in the candle. So as over the course of this adventure, while we're burning this candle, by the end, hopefully we can pull out that D20 and use it eventually, right? Could be really, really cool. So shout out to Cantrip Candles. And if you want to get some for yourself, again, there will be a link down in the old description. And I say that we light this bad boy up. Yeah, it still holds up. It's fantastic. It kind of sets the mood of like fresh, but like, you know, it's got that little bit of maybe like a sea smell to it, you know, but it's like fresh. And I think that it's very nice. Lighten her up. Hopefully it doesn't mess with my lighting balance too much, but this bad boy is going to be sitting right there so we can watch it over the course of the campaign, watch it go down, and we could reveal that D20 at the very end. I think that that's very cool. Righteous. So the couple other things I have here that I haven't talked about, this is a standard deck of playing cards, and they are pirate themed, and we're going to need these because of Perry the Pirate's pirate class, which we're going to talk about later, but these are basically just pirate themed cards. I've used them in off-camera campaigns that I was playing, yeah, but they're pretty cool, you know, little themed cards here. They got little boats on them and other kinds of fun little stuff, and I think that they're fantastic. Very nice. These here are also the Game Master's Apprentice deck. This is going to be our solo Oracle while we're playing Pirate. I have a full video covering the Game Master's Apprentice deck on the channel. Also, if you've been following along with the Solo RPG Academy, I mentioned that a couple of times that when you're playing solo, you're going to need, of course, your source book, your adventure books that you're going to need to play, and then one single solo engine. And this is going to be our solo engine for this series. Much like Mythic, you could use Mythic 2e for stuff. That's one of my favorites. This is going to be our solo engine, and it includes yes or no's, it includes dice rolls and adjectives and other kinds of fun stuff, right? And there isn't too much to it. It's kind of a little bit limiting, I feel. So it's going to encourage me to use my imagination a little bit more, and it's going to challenge, and I'm kind of into that. But also it's going to give room for our other stuff to breathe, which is fun. I'm also going to pull these out here. These are our Pirate Borg dice that actually come with the starter set. These are fantastic, and we're going to be rolling them right there in our dice box. That is just, it's embedded into the table. Kind of fun stuff. So this is the starter set itself, and I did order the GM screen, but it does kind of have a GM screen on the inside of the box. But we aren't going through this whole thing today. I do have a video covering this whole thing on the channel, which you can check out. And as you can tell, I've already playing with it a little bit. We're going to be utilizing some of this in our series, along with these tokens and some of these maps, because Pirate Borg has really fun naval combat that I'm hopefully going to be exploring as best that I can while I play. And we do actually have some naval combat maps in the starter set that we're going to get to use, which I think is fantastic. Today, we don't need those. This thing also comes with tokens that we could use in our combat. Again, today, we don't need those. It also comes with dry erase markers, and it comes with its own adventure of Trapped in the Tropics, but I want to say we will not be touching this pretty much, I don't think, at all, unless I read it and find something fun to include in this first 5 episodes of Adventure. What we will need today, of course, is our character sheets, and the fun thing is this actually comes with dry erase sheets that actually have a little bit of each class and how to build each one of the classes, so you could put it onto your character sheet, but it also has little quick dry erase ones if you're doing maybe like Corpse Run or something, and you want to kind of just have a quick way to build a character and then they die and you can make another one. I think that's fantastic. But we don't need those. We just need our character today, because we're going to be building our character with our actual Pirate Borg book. This book does not come with the starter set. The starter set does come with its own player handbook, and it comes with everything you're going to need to play, but it doesn't come with the official book. Now, we are using these other 2 brand new books that Limithron have sent over to me. Now, Dawn Among the Dead, I cover it again in that other video. It has a whole setting dealing with Davy Jones' locker, but we're actually not using Jones' locker, but what we will be using in our solo adventure, so I'm going to talk about a little bit, moving my ribbons to it, is Into the Maelstrom, which is an adventure in itself in this here book. And the cool thing about this adventure is that it actually uses cards whenever you're going to locations or whenever you're meeting an NPC or something like that. It actually uses cards, so it gives a little bit of randomization, which is perfect for us solo play. But I guess I'm going to talk about the setting in a sec. First, we're just talking about what we're using, right? Now, also, we have Cabin Fever. We're not using a lot from Cabin Fever, but I do want to tell you that here in the back, there is actually solo rules in the back called Captain and Crew, Observe, Act, and Resolve. There are solo rules for Pirate Borg here in the back of this here book. We're really not going to be using these a lot, but there are some fun roll charts here that we might use if we ever want to. So things we might see at sea and events that we die for, those are things that we might use a little bit, right? So we're keeping that book out. Okay, and I think that this covers pretty much all of our tools. Again, besides the Game Master screen, and I'm also getting the Pirate Borg shirt that I'm gonna wear. That's kind of cool. And I'm hoping to get a journal as well. But I do a lot of my journaling for these longer campaigns. I do it mostly in Google Docs because I rewatch the episodes and I actually take my notes and I add in things from your guys' comments into that Google Doc, and then I just print them out and bring them. So we'll see if I even use a journal. I'm still debating. I don't know. Okay, so before we get into our character, I guess I do want to talk a little bit about our setting, what we're going to be playing in, all right? So Into the Maelstrom, and when we're playing solo, this is kind of just going to be a vibe for us, right? This is just going to kind of be a direction that we're going to be going in. So we're going to be taking locations and NPC ideas and other kinds of stuff from Into the Maelstrom. We're not going to be playing it verbatim, but the idea of Into the Maelstrom, we're going to read through the Dark Caribbean introduction, just so you can get an idea of our small band of cutthroats and scallywags has been hired to do a straightforward but deadly task. Sneak aboard the demonic warship, the Maelstrom, and slay as many of its vampire crew as you can. The coin is good, but will the risk be worth the prize? In a twist of fate, you each have learned of a personal reason to seek out the ghoulish vessel with blood-red flesh for sails, as its captain, Albrichel, the Tideborn, holds many prisoners in its haunted holds, and one of them has great meaning to you. After weeks at sea, your ship arrives at the tropical fishing town of Charlotte's Cove, where you will seek out your patron. But first, the crew is restless, and several pints of grog and a few rounds of three-eyed parrot are in order. So that's a little bit of a setting. So we're doing this solo, so this isn't our ship or crew, all right? I'm going to do a full introduction into the world and the story and how we're playing it on episode 1, all right? So we're going to get the vibes then. But the idea is that it's not a full ship or crew. My idea for the story is that Perry the Pirate, this is going to be his coming-of-age story. So he's young, right? This is the beginning of his story. I'm thinking he's about 16 or 17, and Perry the Pirate is just a ye humble fisherman, and him and his brother and his father fish in their small little cove town, right? Small little island town, and maybe population of 30, 40 people. And one day they see these red flesh sails come over the horizon, and these vampires come to their town, kill and take away right? And the thing that happens is that this vampire leader, Albric, I'm gonna have to figure out, I might come up with a different name because I don't like it. Albrichel, the Tideborn, Tideborg, comes to Perry the pirate's father, and they fight and fight, but his father loses the fight, and the Tideborn takes him out, and Perry watches his father pass as he's off in the sand, like seeing this go down. He's trying to get his dad to help him, but he can't, and he's with his brother, and then after his father dies, they make it up onto the dock, and the leader is there, and he looks over and he sees Perry's brother, points at him, and the crew grabs Perry's brother and takes him aboard their ship and leaves Perry sitting on the dock, and they get Perry down on his legs, on his knees, and the Tideborn's he says something, like a good one-liner or something. I don't know, I'll figure it out in the first episode. He's like, remember this, boy, if you want to seek revenge, then you must learn how to sail. And I think he flicks him a coin, like a piece of 8, you know what I mean? With that pirate symbol on it, flicks him a coin, and Perry catches it, and the coin is covered in blood, and then they all leave, and Perry is left on this cove with maybe 1 or 2 surviving people, other youngins, right? For whatever reason, the pirate leader decides to leave Perry there to suffer, he doesn't want him, maybe because he's a vampire. I'm thinking that Perry's not the right blood type that they want or something like that, you know what I mean? And he doesn't want to kill him because he's so young or something. So Perry's left alone, and our story is actually then going to begin a couple years later. I think there's going to be a crazy storm, and a bunch of wreckage is going to come ashore of this cove that he lives at. I'm going to name it later. And also, some kind of older pirate comes ashore, comes up onto the sand. Perry finds him and saves them, and Perry starts asking him questions, and this older guy is going to teach Perry how to build a boat because he's been stuck at this cove for 2 years because they took all their boats and destroyed everything. So Perry's just been fishing, and anyways, that's where our story is going to begin. So Perry can build a boat and learn how to pirate a little bit from this old pirate, and then they're going to go to this place, Charlotte's Cove, after, of course, we can build the boat and do all that stuff and survive on the island. That'll be episode 2 or 3 or whatever, and then we're going to chase down the Tideborn and try to get revenge, and in the process, Perry's going to become a full pirate, right? So right now, he's just Perry the fisherman, and by the end of our story, he's going to become Perry the pirate, if he survives, of course, because this is Pirate Borg, and Perry could die and then have to go to Davy Jones' locker, which is in Dawn Among the Dead, so then we're going to play even more of this book, and then try to escape Davy Jones' locker to then go and try to get the Tideborn again and take him out. Could be a whole thing. So that's kind of our setting and our story that we're going to be playing, and I want to mention again in here, if we look through this, and this is for you guys who want to play this yourself, playing card. You'll need a standard 52 deck of playing cards. Key objectives, NPCs, and locations are determined randomly via an in-world poker game called Three-Eyed Parrot. The deck is then split into 2 decks for the Prisoner deck and the Encounter deck. And if you look over here, we actually have Three-Eyed Parrot as a whole game right here that we're going to play through a little bit, and I'll explain it as we play it on the episode. But I think this is straight up just kind of the poker game. We'll figure it out as play. But then also there are roll charts for the encounters and all the other fun shenanigans. There's a couple other things we should talk about. I don't know if we're going to use it, but in this it says to get a couple alarms, a 30-minute hourglass, an egg timer, or something for tracking NPC deaths once Albrecht begins casting the resurrection spell. So Albrecht has its own agenda. We're going to have to try and stop. It's crazy. So it even says here, for a shorter game, every hour, or even for a longer game, every morning in-game, draw and kill 1 NPC from the Prisoner deck. So these are all, in our story, the Prisoner deck are going to be prisoners that were from the cove that we lived in, and maybe from other places in the world, right? And this vampire captain is going to be killing off all of these prisoners, eating them. Don't reveal the identity of the deceased just yet. You'll speed this up to once an hour in the hours before Albrecht attempts to raise Bride Witch, which is his goal, right? Killing all these prisoners to try and bring back his own Bride Witch. So our evildoer has his own agenda. I think that's fun. So the cool thing about this is it also has long campaign, medium campaign, and then a one-shot you can also do in this adventure. And I think it's very, very cool. I don't go into a lot of detail about this adventure in the overview of this book because we're going to be doing it over the course of. Thanks for joining. So we have full history of this world, but I want to show you a little bit of this is Albrecht art and his stats and everything there. He killed our father. We must take him out, my father, you son. So we also should say some vampire tropes apply. So garlic, holy symbols, and running water have no effect. Vampires do still cast reflections and mirrors. Spells, prayers, and rituals and relics do affect most pelagic vampires, though Albrecht is immune. They are undead and they turn to ash if killed. Consuming ash makes them sick. So vampires don't consume ash. In Pirate Borg, ash is kind of like a drug that people take. We'll talk about that a little bit while we're playing. So only Albrecht can get more vampires going. It's kind of good. All pelagic vampires in the Dark Caribbean were turned by Albrecht. So good to know. The only way to become a vampire for Albrecht to willingly feed his blood to someone he has already bitten. He can turn humans, deep ones, and hybrids, all result in different mutations, i.e. how fish-like, but they function the same mechanics. Destroying Albrecht does not destroy his offspring. They have deep one characteristics, so they're all great swimmers and they can breathe in water, etc. etc. The lunar cycle and the tide do matter. They prefer to feed at high tide. We're going to remember that for our story. They can't eat food, but must drink blood and prefer blood with high salt. They are nigh invulnerable, but they are allergic to ascorbic acid, vitamin C. That's so funny, dude. In my other campaign, I did a group campaign of Sentinel Comics TTRP, which I think I have back here. It's the white RP. My favorite superhero RP, by the way, Sentinel Comics. I've heard Savage World is good, but the way to win in that game over time, the players learned vitamin C. So they developed their own orange guns and were like shooting oranges at people, and because there were these clones in the world, and the only way to destroy the clones was with vitamin C. That was their weak man. So it's so funny that they've done this here. That's hilarious. Cool. So then we have the enemies that are on board the Maelstrom right here, and of course it's a roll chart 1 through 8. We have the regular stats for the vampire. Then we have the Bride Witch, which is who he's trying to resurrect. Fun. And then we have starting the adventure. So after we play a round of Three-Eyed Parrot, which I think we're gonna do once we go to Charlotte's Cove, we separate all the cards. We have a prisoner deck and we have an encounter deck, and then we're gonna start drawing from them. And if we go over here, we can see the Three-Eyed Parrot results. We have them right here: fate, past, present, future, and hope. So it's gonna kind of like give us a little bit of like a fate thing going on for a game, which is cool. And then we have all the results of the cards. So we have their relationship to us, and then who the prisoners are. So we might know a little bit more people from the Cove, which is cool. And then we have the results for past, the present, future, and the hope. And we're gonna do all this in episode 1, which I think is gonna be a lot of fun. Lastly, here is our Dead Islands map, which is fantastic. I like this one more than the Dark Caribbean. A little bit of Easter egg for people who've been following the channel for a long time. Right behind my dice collection, there's a map right there. And that is the Dark Caribbean map that I actually got in my original Pirate Borg book. You can see it says Dark Caribbean right there, or Dark Caribbean, however you say it. That's been there. That's because Pirate Borg is one of my favorite TTRPGs of all time. So a little bit of an Easter egg. Channel Easter egg? Anyways, I'm stupid. Cool. So then we have the full stats for the Maelstrom, which is their ship. Yeah, and then we have more roll chart for the prisoner deck, which we can draw from later. Hearts are people, clubs are items, diamonds are treasure, spades are encounter. Very, very cool stuff, right? And I'm going to, I might explain a little bit as we play while we actually play through it, but I'm going to do my best to memorize it and get it all down, exactly how everything works before we begin playing. I just didn't want to overwhelm myself right away, so we're doing it bit. Anyways, then we have all of the main NPCs in here and the main decks of the Maelstrom once we get, which will probably be our finale episode, if we even make it to that finale episode within 5 episodes. And if we do more, that depends on y'all, so make sure to leave a like. Right, and each section of this ship, it's huge. Did you see that? Has its own section here. Absolutely crazy. The brig, the forehold, the cemetery on the ship, that's crazy. The midship hold, right. But then we're getting into Charlotte's Cove, which is cool. We're actually going to use this map once we get there. I think it's fantastic. Charlotte's Cove is going to be a cool little place for us to be able to explore. And this is going to be great for us to actually run a pre-written adventure adjacent in a solo adventure. We'll see how much I actually use and how much I actually roll for while we're playing. We shall see. But hopefully, once we go to each location, say we arrive at the docks during the day, we have a description: slow, hot, crowded with gold. We can see the ships and the rudder, and then we can see the fisherman, Keyshawn, on page 44. A West African is frantically looking for his daughter, Bakau, who captains her own boat. She didn't come home last night. She offers this, right? And so we can actually then just use this little bit of a description, and we can kind of like go on that adventure and do that. Or we can go over to page 107, and we can go into full detail of page 107. Bakau, daughter of the fisherman, severed arm, charming, furious, wants revenge. Turns out that Bakau's actually one of the prisoners. Oh, spoilers. All right, we're going too far. We're going too far, everybody. You see, I'm trying not to read too much of this because I want it to still be a mystery and I want it to still be fun for us. I've talked about running source books a little bit in the past before. This is going to be an example of that, right? We're not reading every single, we're just getting what we write. Cool. So that is our setting and our story and what we're going to be doing. And I want to reiterate the fact that I might just use it as a concept, as an idea, and I might just use stat blocks. If using all the detail of Charlotte's Cove doesn't work for me, then it doesn't work for me, and I might do it a little bit differently, okay? But the cool thing about that is we're going to have the Game Master's Apprentice decks, the pirate-themed one, to support everything that we decide to do random, okay? We can ask our yes or no questions, we can get everything that we need right out of it. But if we can have some fun with that card game, we've got our cards here to be able to do it, all right? Now, let's talk about Perry the Pirate a little bit here. So we know what he looks like. I've showed you a video, but we need to talk about what his class is. So Perry the Pirate was actually built for the first time. He was built in 5e, and he was a swashbuckling rogue. That was a long time ago, my friend. I don't play 5e anymore. I haven't in a long time. So think about how long ago it was since I made Perry the Pirate. My hope here on the Grouch Couch channel, actually, is to take all 5 of my favorite player characters that I have ever played as and get their stories started here in a solo series to actually get their backstories going and have some fun fun with them, and then be able to return to them as I want to and expand more with different games and with different solo TTRPG things. For example, we just did Dragonbane recently with Willy the Wizard, and we got his episode started. His campaign started with 5 episodes, right? If we ever return to Willy the Wizard, we might use a different fantasy system, and we're going to continue the Willy the Wizard story, right? We're going to start at a good point, though, so people who haven't seen it before will be able to continue. And hopefully we can do that. Perry the Pirate is one of those characters that I want to be able to start and continue and have as like a couch canon character, you know, here on the channel. I think that would be kind of fun. I have 5 in total. It's Willy the Wizard, Perry the Pirate. Why do they all have names like that? Fizz is a Kinku who's an alchemist, and I do have a Kinku mask and a full-on Kinku costume. Some of you know what that looks like. Of course, we have Hex the Farmer, who's our random character. We all know and love Hex. And then we have Finny and Ash from Legend in the Mist. He's kind of like a druid, and those are our 5 characters. So I should write all these down, put them some. I don't know. It's just fun. It's just a fun thing for me. All right. So we're building Perry the Pirate's character. ADD tangent. Let's return to the what he was built as a swashbuckling rogue in 5e. Perry is a little bit of a scoundrel, right? He's been screwed over. Apparently, we're doing his coming of age story, so he's been screwed over by a vampire pirate king, and this has caused him to be a little bit of a scoundrel, just trying to get what he wants and get in and get out. And one thing we're going to be doing, because we're playing a solo game, is we're actually going to be taking some extra feats from new classes in Cabin. But I was looking through all the new classes, and I don't really think they fit exactly what I want to do. So Perry the Pirate is just straight up going to be a rapscallion. And a rapscallion is a classic Pirate Borg. And the other reason I love rapscallion is that rapscallion actually uses cards for its class, right? A sneaky cutthroat scallywag, good at backstabbing, breaking and entering, stealing, cheating, and escaping, found in tavern shadows and shallow graves. You will need a deck of playing cards to be able to use the rapscallion. And we're actually going to be starting with Backstabber. And it's going to be the first card here. And this is going to give Perry the Pirate the ability to, if you attack by surprise from hiding, distracted, enemy, etc., anyway from surprise, you lower the attack DR, deal 2 by 2, and deal an extra d6 damage. If taken again, lower it by 2 more, right? But if you get a red card when you take it again, you increase the damage die to d6 to d8 to d10, etc. So you draw a card whenever you increase by experience, if we decide to do that. But for now, if he's sneaking, he's just going to get a little bit of an advantage on his sneak attacks, right? And also, his other ability is that if he drinks grog or rum, he could heal. And every time he drinks, it does lower his agility, which I think is fun. And that's the main bit. Everything else we're going to roll for. He's going to be starting with a sword and a pistol, right? He's going to get the sword and the pistol probably from the wreckage of the ship, like we said in our story. He's going to have a fishing pole and just like normal fisherman's clothes is how he's going to be starting. He gets +2 to agility, -1 to strength, and -1 to toughness. The other thing that Perry the Pirate will have, and this is from Cabin Fever, the new book, he's going to be starting with 2 extra feats because we're doing this solo, right? The first feat he's going to be starting with, only because it makes sense narratively, is from this new angler class, which is a fisherman's class, and this has full fishing rules in it. So if we do decide to fish a little bit, we're going to pull this book out, we're going to do our fishing rules, but he's going to be able to eat raw fish. He's stomach the slimy and smelly and scaly uncooked. All tests to withstand eating diseased food are a -2 DR for you. If taken again, an additional -2 DR. So it's a 10 to eat any kind of nasty rotten fish or anything else like that. It just makes sense to me, like living on this fishing island, surviving for 2 years. Also, if he decides to fish in any way, we're going to lower his DR on that as well, because that's another thing from Ang. So he's just good when it comes. We're going to put that on his character. Now, the only actually mechanically important other skill we're going to be taking also comes from this book. Sorry, it's actually in the Dawn Among the Dead book. There are a bunch of new skills, okay, that are included. D66 skills for the seasoned sea rover. So whenever you gain experience, instead of getting a class feature, or if playing as a landlubber, you can take this skill instead. But also, if you're playing solo, my suggestion is to take extra feats, because this game is not easy, right? It's not an easy game to play, especially when it comes to combat and other kinds of crap like that, okay? So the other thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking an extra combat skill to give us a little bit of a leverage in combat. And the skill that we're going to be taking is Powder and Steel. So in one breath, you can shoot and swing your blade. So we can actually shoot our pistol and swing our sword at the same time in the same round. So we're going to get 2 attacks each round. And that's going to help us a little bit if we get in combat with anything weird or funny or whatever. If you don't want to do it that way with the extra mechanics and stuff, in the Cabin Fever, there is a mechanic for dealing with combat where you just make 1 single dice. But that's not fun. I still want to enjoy this system for what it is, right? Because I like Pirate Borg a lot. So we're taking the extra feat, and we're going to double our HP dice. So when we're making our character, our HP is our toughness plus a D8. We're actually going to roll 2D8, and that's going to be our, all right? And I'm actually I want to be able to take my time with the character sheet, okay, when I write it all out. So I'm not going to be doing it in camera. I'm going to do it off camera so I can do it real nice and slow and take time, because I want it to be pretty, because this is going to be our character sheet for a little while. But this is what it looks like. So we're going to be filling out everything on here. These are just fantastic looking character sheets. Honestly, super sick. But they're double-sided, as you can see here. So we also can put everything, once we get our ship going, we can actually put everything for our ship on here as well, right? So it's kind of like our ship's character. So I just want to explain how I'm building the character and everything that's going to go into it. And this episode, we're not actually going to be doing it, just to say. And for you guys who want to play solo, my suggestion for you. But there's a lot of cool extra feats in here that you can take. I'm only taking the fishing ones because they make sense narratively, but I'm taking this one mechanically because I'm solo and we're getting the extra HP. Cool. So he's going to be a rapscallion, old Perry the pirate. And I think the pirate that washes ashore in our story narratively is also going to be kind of a rapscallion character. So he's going to be teaching him a little bit of pirate ways together, right? And we could do some time jumpy stuff if we want to, and as we play, every time Perry achieves something like building the boat, arriving to a new location, finishing a quest, whatever, we're going to do a little bit of an experience gain, all right? Because he's one character, so I'm going to give him that experience gain a little bit more often than I would in a full group. So what else should we know about Perry the pirate? So there's, we've talked about him mechanically. What about narrative, right? Perry the pirate, it was always a running gag that he cannot swim. So if he ever falls into water or anything else like that, his DR is going to be increased to be able to swim properly. His agility rolls. Thankfully, his class gives him better agility, but his DR is going to be a little bit tougher to be able to swim because he cannot swim. He's a pirate who can't swim. That was just kind of the fun thing I came up with, which I think is a running gag because also Fizz the Kinku. A Kinku is like a bird humanoid. Fizz can't fly, and he's afraid of heights. So that's... maybe something that I just like to do, I guess. But Perry the pirate cannot swim. At least he was never taught to swim. Maybe someone will teach him to swim in this story. Maybe, could be fun. But that's why he needs the boat. He can't swim. He can't go anywhere. You know, he'd probably struggle trying to get across the friggin' river if it was, you know, neck deep. Anyways, even as a fisherman, I think Perry the pirate always had a fascination with gold. By his gold teeth, he liked gold so much. He actually, you know, got gold teeth when his teeth they might get punched out in our story, actually. The idea is that I'm going to do a little bit of costume skits and stuff, but it's going to be like him in the future telling the story, you know what I mean? And this is what happened next, you know, kind of a fun little thing for me to do. It's, you know, I just think that it's fun. It's fun to tell stories in that way and do the costume stuff. So, you know, anyways, he's really into gold, starts as a fisherman. He doesn't know how to swim. I feel like he starts as a polite kind of person. Like his father taught him how to be, you know, polite to the people in the village. But the more time he spends with pirates, the more he starts to cuss and, you know what I mean, talk like a sailor and stuff like that over time. So this coming of age story is kind of going to morph him into being who he is. And the other thing that I love about running the vampire version of this game is that we still get to fight like normal humanoids, but they're vampires, right? So it almost feels a little bit better, like we're not just killing other pirates, right? Like we're a pirate, we want to be with pirates, right? So we're killing the vampire pirates. Like fuck those guys, you know what I mean? And I don't think Perry gets addicted to Ash in any way. Ash is a really fun mechanic in this system, but what we're going to do after we make it to Charlotte's Cove is hopefully we're going to be able to start recruiting some folks to be aboard the ship. And that's where your guys' NPC names suggestions are going to come into play. And I'm hoping that I'm going to make like a little roll chart of all the classes, and I'm going to roll them up. And we might get in Cabin Fever, there's actually an Ash dealer class. And I'm hoping we might be able to get an Ash dealer on the crew, on the ship. So hopefully that'll be a fun little story to tell. Cool, but I think that that's pretty much it. I did mention that I'm going to be using maps and stuff when it comes to naval combat. Just so you guys know, I am going to be using tokens and maps on the table once we get into that, because I want to experience naval combat in full and show you guys what I'm talking about and how cool naval combat can be in this system, because it's such a tough thing to do, good naval combat. Even like ship-to-ship combat in sci-fi is such a tough thing to do, and I think Pirate Borg Limithron, they have like published their ship mechanics, and I think that it's really good. We might not use the optional wind rules, but and we'll talk about that once we get there. But I'm gonna try to experience it solo just to see if the naval combat will run really well solo as well. So, but we need a crew before we can do that. Righteous, and I think that that's everything. I really do. I think that that's a full session 0 of what we're gonna be using, who we're gonna be playing, and what our story is gonna look like. And big shout out to Limithron and of course Cantrip Candles for helping to make this story happen. Fantastic. Big thanks to them and for all my little extra bits. Big thanks to the channel members members and the Ko-Fi supporters for allowing me to be able to get these Magus Apprentice cards. Without your support, that wouldn't have happened, so thank you so much for that. And I think that's pretty much it. So remember to leave NPC names, all right? Male or female, just leave a name in the comments below. It could be like your thoughts about the story and then maybe an NPC name if you want. I'll do my best to include it into the story once we get to start playing. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are about old Perry the Pirate and all the other stuff in the story. I really appreciate y'all for watching. I hope that you're going to enjoy this story as much as you have the other ones. If pirates aren't for you, but you want to see some solo plays in action, I do have a bunch of other solo actual plays here on the channel that run in this same format, 5 episodes, and I do my best to make them collaborative storytelling as best that I can. Join the Discord if you want to do a little bit more than just leave a comment, right? If you want to do some art or anything else fun like that. And of course, I'll show it off on the episodes while we're playing. Cool.
That's it for me, you guys. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss when every episode goes live.
But it will go up on Friday at probably 6 a.m. PST.
For now, take a seat on the old couch by subscribing and roll initiative, at least for a little while, or until a vampire pirate comes and tries to kill your whole family too. Roll on that, weirdos, and I'll see you next. Yar.